What's up, it's your boy Reemus, and in this video we're going to be speaking about the fact that monogamy is for people with low standards. All right, and I guess that could be surprising depending on how you usually think, or the narratives or information you're usually exposed to in the society. But I'm going to explain why, and then you can tell me what you think, right? But basically we start with this. Throughout all of human history, in fact, never in human history has there ever been a time where humans have been totally monogamous. No one really argues with me on this point at all, because this is all facts. There is no period in human history where humans were totally monogamous. 3 to 5% of animals on the planet are monogamous, and humans are not included in that. However, humans do value pair bonding, and we get this confused. We think, well, because we value pair bonding, it means we're monogamous creatures. And if you looked at the behaviors of people when they are given freedom and how they act, you would definitely see it's definitely anything but monogamous. You know, you got this baby mama culture, baby father culture, cheating culture, and all of this, which I don't agree with. But with this information, it actually helps us to avoid that stuff. But anyway, we can go on to say monogamy can be a beautiful foundation if it's authentic. If it's done right with the right mindset, it can be a beautiful thing because it can provide stability that is good for the family. However, because we're not monogamous creatures, what you see is people don't use it in that fashion. So they have affairs, people are trying to possess each other. You know, they're not really thinking, hey, we're going to do this structure because we're both comfortable in it, makes sense, and I want you to be comfortable in it too. You have free will to choose this. It's almost like enforced on others. And we're going to go into why that is the case. So there was a period in time in Western culture when there was a shift in Roman and Greek times where they wanted the population, and they enforced the population to have this monogamous mindset through, it could be education, the use of religion, despite the fact that in religion, plural marriage is actually normal if you look into the religious texts and so on. But what happens is, now that we're in this state where monogamy is enforced on people and they don't know about other relationship structures, now they use that structure in a way to cushion their bad qualities, right? The parts of themselves that need working on, they use this structure to cushion themselves. So for example, well, I'll give you one example. People have a possessive type of mindset, and they actually think they can be with someone and they own them. That person's their property. They have that mindset because actually there's safety in that for them emotionally. The self-love that they're supposed to pour inside of themselves, they don't. And they get their fix of self-love, ego validation, and just overall love that they're supposed to get from themselves. They put it into the possession of another person. So when that person acts non-monogamously, especially through deceptive means, which we see a lot in this day and age, one of the top 2 reasons for divorce in practically any country is going to be infidelity. But what happens is, their life feels like they're being ruined. If you watch cheating shows like How to Catch a Cheater, Maury, Jerry Springer, whatever it is, when you get cheated on, for most people, it's like a damaging experience. They take it to mean something about them, even though the other person's just doing what they want to do. They take it personal because they've attached their sense of self-worth, validation. They've attached it to the actions, the body, the genitals of someone else, which is actually crazy when you think about it. So the reason why that happens is because they're using that structure to get their fix of self-love, to get their fix of ego validation, to get their fix of approval, to get their fix of, hey, I'm a great person, because they love hearing it from that person. And when that person says, I only have eyes for you, only you, that makes them feel the love that they were supposed to get through self-love. Now, because this structure is being used in a way where people are cushioning their low quality bad traits, this is why it can be toxic. So Basically, you can be a low quality person and you can be in a monogamous relationship, but you cannot do that in a non-monogamous relationship. That's impossible, actually. It might be toxic. I mean, I'm talking about the monogamous relationship. It might be toxic, but you can actually be in it. It can survive if you don't work on these certain traits. You can, like, you'll see people say, "Oh, I'm selfish. I'm too insecure. and they say it as if it's a good thing, but actually it's weakness. Actually, it is a lowly trait, a low vibrational trait. And they can say this and be comfortable. Like, they can comfortably say it and the relationship can still survive. Might not thrive, but it will still survive. But this is not the case in any other type of union, right? So this is because to be in a non-monogamous situation, it requires you to work on those toxic or low vibrational traits in order for the relationship to survive. You can't actually be in a non-monogamous relationship unless you've worked on those traits. The relationship won't survive. So it forces you to upgrade as a person. And this is where we go into, well, actually, this is why I say monogamy as its practice, not in the structure, because there's nothing wrong with the structure, but as it's being practiced today is actually for low quality people. So, or people with low standards. Now, this is also why non-monogamous situations, I've seen people say, well, I never thought it would be the case, but it was actually a healing experience for me. I actually feel I healed in many ways. I grew in many ways. I elevated in many ways. And there are different sorts. Like when we talk about non-monogamous relationships, I did a video talking about the different structures because I don't judge. So I covered all of the different types of relationships that could be practiced in non-monogamy. So if you want to watch that video, then check it out in one of the playlists that I have on the channel. But in these situations, in non-monogamous relationships and situations, you will have to face the shadow of yourself that monogamy allowed you to hide. In monogamy, you could hide it. You could have someone say, well, I'm too possessive, I'm too selfish, I'm too insecure. And you can just patch it up, hide it, sweep it under the rug. But you cannot do that in a non-monogamous situation. So usually when I speak about this, and my personal belief or perspective is that the non-monogamous situation that fits humans in terms of like what would be healthy for the community, what you see people kind of already doing, and what fits in line with our human nature is the polygynous structure. That's a man with multiple wives. I'll give you let's talk about that. And this is why I say, higher standards. Because most women would only be a second or third, or if they were first, they would only agree to other wives being a part of this situation if the man was high quality. So they'll say something like this. They'll say, well, the man has to be able to provide and protect all of them. He has to be able to give good deed to all of them. He has to be an amazing communicator, and he must be good at management. He has to make all of us feel safe and heard and all of these things. However, they wouldn't necessarily have that standard in a monogamous situation. So they don't have those same expectations in monogamy. Women aren't walking around saying men have to provide, otherwise we're not going to be in the situation with you. They prefer it, but they don't say you have to provide. They don't do that. But if they was going to be in, let's say, a polygamous marriage, they would absolutely, most of the time, not all of the time, but most of the time, say that, well, the man has to be able to provide for each wife. But they never have that standard in a monogamous marriage, so it's very interesting. This is why I say high quality, high standards. And so too with the man, he would expect that the women in those unions would be the type who understand their feminine role. However, he might not, guys might not have that expectation in a monogamous situation. So in order to be in those, you have to be of high quality or high standards or be able to work on yourself. Let's talk about another one, right? Because again, I personally believe that polygamy or polygynous marriages are more suitable for actual growth, because the growth in the community, because the principles of it are aligned with bigger families, self-sufficiency, wealth creation, and so on. But let's just say, because again, I'm balanced, let's say in a polyamorous relationship, which is when the man and the woman and both partners have different partners. Let's say in those situations, their principles are based on freedom, of openness and honesty and all of these things, and exploration. Now, in order for you to be in those unions, you would have to still, again, work on your jealousy. However, in monogamy, you don't have to. So in monogamous situations, you can actually still be very jealous. You can do that. You can go to the restaurant, and if your partner says hi and smiles too much at the waiter, you might feel inadequate, and you can feel jealous, and you can rage. And that's actually normal. Whereas in a polyamorous relationship, you would never be able to do that. It wouldn't make sense. The relationship would crumble. So again, you don't actually have to work on these traits in the monogamous situation. So it's confusing when people say, well, I could never because I'm too jealous. Well, perhaps you're right, but you're too jealous anyway. You know, you're still going to be jealous in a monogamous situation. And in fact, if you was to be in a polyamorous situation, you'd be less jealous because you would just simply work on your management of the emotion. But then we also have other types of non-monogamous situations, such as could be swinging. It could just be open fun. So people like have threesomes and stuff. And that's another example of how you would have to deal with certain emotions that you would feel that you would never have to in a monogamous situation. So this is also why actually you see people in monogamous marriages and it looks miserably unattractive. So for example, because the guy is not held to a certain standard and she's happy getting with a low quality guy in monogamy, you will find that many of these guys will complain and say, I've only had sex with my woman once every 3 months and once every 6 months and so on, because she's willing to settle in those situations. But she would never do that if she was expecting to be in, let's say, a polygamous marriage. She couldn't even do it. You know, it wouldn't even make sense. The guy would have to be a high quality guy for that to happen, which would ultimately then make her, make him more desirable. And it would be the case for the other way around. The guy would be, he has options. So he would be picking women who are highly desirable and have attractive mental traits too. But that's just another perspective to give you. I like giving different perspectives and thoughts because I don't like that in this society it's like one relationship or one size fits all, which is definitely not the case. And I think that if more people were open to the information and different perspectives, you would see less cheating, less lying, less deception, less hiding, less lack of fulfillment, all of these things. It's crazy to me that people are gonna do this sort of stuff anyway, but do it in a broken fashion, a deceptive fashion, hide from their partner fashion. It's gonna ruin families and so on. So I really can't understand it. I really can't understand it. But it's just something for you to think about, something potentially controversial, something potentially different for you. And I don't mind whatever you have to say. So you can comment down below, let Reemus know your thoughts on the video, and I will see you in the next one. And for sure, don't hesitate to check out the other videos that I did on this sort of topic. You can check out the playlist in the sections playlist on my YouTube channel. So until next time, peace.